Hello, my name is Jimmy and welcome to the 2020 Jeep Gladiator Mojave Edition. If you didn't know, Mojave is a desert and it's about 2,200 kilometers away, or about 1,400 miles away from where I live here in Vancouver. So no, there's no deserts here. But it doesn't mean I can't test just how quick it is by a quick acceleration test. I'm going to leave it in two-wheel drive, but a little bit of brake torque, a lot of wheel spin, a whole lot of noise. It's a heavy truck, and yeah, it does get to 60, but it takes a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean just under 9 seconds. It's definitely not the quickest truck, but the Pentastar V6 does grunt its way through. The engine itself makes 285 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque, which is adequate. But sadly, you just can't get any other engines with the Mojave. On other trims, you can get that torque-licious eco-diesel, but sadly, it's something that you can't spec here. And it's most likely because of the suspension design just isn't capable of handling that heavier engine. To be very honest, this is probably one of the best spec of the Gladiators you can get. Let me explain why. Due to its longer wheelbase, even with a lift, the breakover angle of the Gladiator just isn't that great. And because of that, if you get yourself a Rubicon and you go rock crawling, it's likely you'll get hung up pretty quickly. So instead of bashing rocks, why not hit the forest roads, sand, or even just the beaten path, which the Mojave is actually designed for? Starting with the looks of the Gladiator, it's very similar to the rest of the lineup itself. This is the 2020 Canadian spec model, which you'll notice one thing right away, the hood scoop. No, it's not hiding a big V8 under there, but it certainly looks cool. Sadly, the cool factor dies pretty quick when you realize it's completely blocked off. Nothing a few minutes with a Dremel won't fix, but it's closed off for a reason. As you're driving around the desert, the last thing you want is, well, a big scoop here on the front to scoop in all the sand and debris right into the engine bay. Moving down, we got some beautiful LED headlamps and fog lights. This particular example is actually quite spec'd out, and I'll go over the pricing at the end, but it's almost double that of the base Gladiator. On the side of the Gladiator, we got 33-inch mud terrains, wrap around 17-inch wheels, and well, they just look terrific. These Falcon Wild Peaks, it's exactly what we find on the Rubicon. The wheels themselves have been spaced out just a little bit more to house the suspension trickery behind. On the Mojave, Jeep has decided to go with a 2.5-inch bypass shock with remote reservoirs. You can see them tucked just behind the skid plate on the front here. There are also hydraulic bump stops on the front to reduce any shock that gets sent to the frame. To make sure it's tough enough for desert running, Jeep has also switched the front knuckles from aluminum to cast iron. Generally speaking, aluminum is used to help with unsprung weight, but, well, they just need the tough stuff here. That's exactly why they went with the cast iron. If we move to the back, we see more of that 2.5-inch Fox bypass shock with a piggyback reservoir. No hydraulic bump stock in the back, but the foam bump stop has been reformulated to handle the duties of pre-running. Between the wheels, we can see the optional step or rock slider here. While the Rubicon model gets a similar treatment, it actually extends to underneath the bed, but for whatever reason, they removed it here for the Mojave. I guess the rocks in the desert only hit the center of the truck rather than the rear. As for the bed, it's basically the same. We have a damped tailgate with an additional in-between position to hold 4x8 sheets on the tailgate and between the wheel wells itself. There's some LED lights and a 115-volt 400-watt outlet to charge whatever you need. Moving inside the cabin itself, well, the rear seats are plenty comfortable. There's more than enough headroom and legroom in here, unlike the Tacoma, for example. The seats themselves can fold up or down to store more cargo, and there's even a lockable compartment underneath to stash your valuables. As for amenities, it's nice to see that Jeep provided not only vents, but there's 4 USB ports in here. 2 USB-A and 2 USB-C charge ports to charge whatever devices you may have. There's even an optional Bluetooth speaker behind the seats. It remains fully charged until you need it. It's actually quite a neat idea, but it is a pricey add-on. Moving to the helm of the Mojave, and we see something that's quite different. The steering wheel itself has scallops on the 3 and 9 position, so when you're high-speed desert running, you can feel exactly where the steering wheel is. We also see a bunch of orange stitching. While the Rubicon's accent color is red, Mojave gets orange, and we see this all over the dash, seats, as well as the exterior. Speaking of the seats, we get Mojave lettering embroidered across the seat faces, just in case you forget which trim you got, and it's more than just the looks itself. The Mojave trim also gets slightly different bolstering. The seats themselves are plenty comfortable, and there's enough range of motion to suit anyone's needs. The only thing is, like all Jeep Gladiators and Wranglers, there is no dead pedal, so, well, it's a little bit more difficult to get comfortable. As for the rest of the dash, it's pretty similar to the rest. There's a clear cluster that houses a digital screen in the center to show more information like vehicle stats, fuel economy, and a whole bunch else. In the center of the dash, we have a large, optional 8.4-inch infotainment display that has Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and really everything else you can ask for, including an off-road page. The system itself, it works well, but it can be a little laggy at times, but it's fully acceptable. Overall, the interior of the Gladiator is exactly the same as, well, the Wrangler. It's a very easy to use interior, everything comes to hand, and, well, all the switches are water resistant, just in case you're caught with the roof down. While driving the Mojave, one thing you're going to notice right away, well, is the Mojave is quite soft. The suspension, it soaks up a lot more of those bumps compared to any other Gladiator or the Wrangler. And, well, I mean, that's what it's about. It's a desert runner. So in the corners, well, let's see. It's a little wallowy. But it adds to the entertainment value of the vehicle. Oh gosh. That's kind of fun, actually. It's not supposed to be a performance car, and it definitely doesn't feel that way. But with the softer suspension design, there's something that you're going to notice. It's, well, a lot more comfortable. For me anyways. My wife, who does get a little bit of motion sickness in vehicles, did not like the suspension design on the Mojave. She said it made her a little wheezy at times. With the softer suspension design, you're also going to lose out on some other things. First, payload. It's definitely less than other Gladiators, along with towing. With the automatic transmission that I have here, I can tow up to 6,000 pounds. If equipped with the manual, it's 4,500 pounds. While that's still 1,000 pounds more than any Wrangler, it's definitely still a lot less than, well, like the sport variant. And I don't suppose that actually will handle that weight well, because, I mean, when you put more tongue weight on the rear of the vehicle, it's just going to make the steering a lot lighter. And the steering is quite light already. It is a Jeep. There's a recirculating ball steering here. It's not designed to be agile. It's far from that. Something else that's different from this than the Rubicon edition is the low range. It's a 2.72 to 1 rather than a 4 to 1, which means it's able to go higher speeds on 4 low than the Rubicon would. It's electronically limited to 45 miles per hour, and that's when you can use the rear locker. On this, because it's a 2020 model, you can only use the rear locker on 4 low. For 2021 or 2022, it's a little hazy exactly when, but Jeep has said that they're going to update the software so you're able to use the rear locker on 4 high. And yes, there's only a rear locker, no front lockers like the Rubicon here, and the sway bar, well, it's not disconnectable. Alright, let me pull over here and let's talk about this Gladiator. The 2020 Mojave Gladiator. It's an amazing truck. It's actually a whole lot of fun to drive. It doesn't have a whole lot of grip, and it's definitely not made for the road. But in off-road scenarios, which I did do just a little bit, well, it's a whole lot of fun. Honestly, like I said before, it's probably one of the best trims you can get for the Gladiator, as long as you're not looking to tow or halt. The suspension, it is soft, it's cushy, it rides like a cloud. Some may find it just a little too soft, but personally, I like it. And if this isn't the Gladiator for you, I'm sure there's one that will fit your lifestyle, because Jeep has offered a whole bunch of different models that fits every different person's needs. I mean, there's one with 20-inch wheels as standard. 20s on a Jeep. I'd love to see someone take that off-road. In Canada, you can get into a Mojave at $52,383. As tested, it's $73,098. In the US, it's $44,100 and roughly $58,680 for this specific trim. There are some differences between the US and Canadian models, so I can't say exactly how much it is, but it's roughly there. So for $73,000, yeah, this is a whole lot of Gladiator. Considering the base Gladiator, it's 46,821 Canadian dollars. Yeah, this is almost double that. But is it worth it? Well, that's hard to say. Do you need a Gladiator that's built to, well, tackle the dunes? If yeah, then absolutely, this is perfect for it. But for everyday driving, probably not so much. It does look cool, and there are a lot of people that's going to be looking at you, and you can do the Jeep wave at everyone. But the trade-off is softer suspension design. You can't tow, you can't haul as much. So figure out whatever your needs is. I'm sure there's a Gladiator for you. In any case, thank you so much for watching this video. Like the video if you do, subscribe if you want to see more. Let me know what your thoughts are on the Gladiator in the comment section down below, and we'll catch you next time. Take care.